Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Ryan Bolden. Thank you all for joining once again. So, in my quest to try to find material to talk about, I came across this article that has a TikTok video, about like 11 seconds, of a white male with a green beard and a strip of look like green or purplish hair or whatever, who basically stated, it's only like 11 seconds of this, who stated that whiteness needs to end. You know, this guy stated that whiteness needs to end. Now, I'm going to let you guys listen in on this audio clip of this individual. Hopefully you'll be able to hear what he has to say, because I definitely have something to say about this, because I think this is absolutely insane. And it kills me when I see white liberals hating on their own race. It just kills me when people accuse me and conservatives of hating on black people. But I'm not. I'm going to talk about that hopefully when I get into my commentary and show you the difference between the two. But let's get right into this right now. Let's get right into this, because this is just absolutely insane. So hopefully you guys can hear this.
Seeing as melanin deficient Europeans created whiteness in order to enslave Africans and commit wholesale genocide, yeah, whiteness needs to end.
Yeah, I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that. Yeah. About 11 seconds. Maybe the video was longer than that in its original entirety, but that's all I needed to hear, because this is ridiculous. And if you see the actual person, if you see the TikTok video and you see the person, you can kind of understand that this person has been brainwashed by the liberal establishment, by the liberal mainstream media, by liberal politicians, and by liberal academia. He looks to be maybe perhaps in his 20s, or maybe early to mid 20s. But this person's brain is mush. Now, getting down to this whole idea of whiteness needing to end, because he states in his comment that, you know, the Europeans, you know, enslaved this and did all this type of stuff. The problem with that worldview, okay, is that every racial group and every ethnicity have committed atrocities to their own kind and to others. That has been the case. I mean, even with the Europeans, I believe it was the Turkish Islamic hordes that invaded North Africa and took in and enslaved and dominated and enslaved over 1 million Europeans during the 17th century. Slavery hadn't even ended yet. And during this, but no one talks about that. No one wants to talk about that. But yet it was these Turkish people, okay, you could say that they were from, you know, but they were Turkish. They embraced a radical form of Islam, and they enslaved over 1 million Europeans in North Africa. But no one wants to talk about that. It's always just about the European, the Anglo-Saxons, that brought horrors and evils all over the world. I'm not going to go into all the detail of that, because you guys can watch some of my previous videos on that whole subject. But look, every ethnicity has done some evil to their own kind and to other races and ethnicities. They have all done that. There is no such thing as one particular racial ethnicity that is dominant in all. Now we could argue that Europeans are in terms of, specifically with America, that they have become the number one ethnicity or race, if you will, that is dominant all over the world. The West, if you will. But it was not always the case. It was not always the case. Prior to the 1500s, the Europeans were at the bottom of the technological and educational ladder, if you will. Okay, they were at the bottom. There were other races or ethnicities that were at the top, such as the Chinese, the Asians. You had some of the African nations, even some of the African nations, the Arab nations. Many of these nations were more prosperous and educated and more technologically advanced than the Europeans. It wasn't until after the Europeans and during the trades and so forth that they began to assimilate some of the ways of these other nations, and they took those skills that they learned from these other nations and they capitalized off of them and they built off of them. Okay. And they were no longer the nation or the ethnic group that was being dominated. They became the ones that were dominating because they took what they learned and they capitalized off of it. And that's why the Europeans became the number one racial group, if you will, or the number one ethnic group that spread these kind of ideologies in terms of imperialism and all the rest. But prior to that, other nations was doing the same thing. Other nations were involved in imperialism. Other nations were involved in slavery. Other nations were involved in all kinds of barbaric brutality to other people in their own kind. They were doing the same thing. So this whole idea of whiteness needs to end is stupid. This guy, see, reverse racism is not the answer. Reverse racism is not the answer. Okay? The answer is live your life, get an education, or get a job rather, maybe not in that order, get a job, get an education, raise a family, and go on about your business. That's the way people ought to act in the world and ought to act in America. But I said this and I'll say it again. The Marxist insurgents in academia, the Marxist insurgents in politics, the Marxist insurgents in the entertainment industry, and the Marxist insurgents even in religion are capitalizing off of tensions that may already exist. This is what Marxists do. This is what people don't understand. What Marxists do, they either create chaos or they capitalize off of tension that already exists between ethnic groups and people groups. What they do is they capitalize. If it doesn't exist, they create it. But if there is some tension there, what the Marxists would do, they'll come in and capitalize off of the tension that is built, that's there, and they build on it and make it worse and worse and worse. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to cause a revolution, because they see this world, or in America and the West in particular, or whether the West and America in particular, as an imperialistic, oppressive regime that has to be destroyed by any means necessary. So what they're intent on doing is causing chaos in a situation where there may not be any chaotic elements, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you may have peace between whites and blacks, but the Marxists don't want that, because the Marxists see that as, oh, no. We cannot create our communist revolution when there's unity and peace and white people getting along with black people and black people getting along with white people and they marrying one another and loving on one another and being unified and coming together and having the same belief. We need to create division. And it kills me when I see so many people, white and black, ignorant of history, ignorant of the Marxist insurgents, ignorant of what's really going on. I could see the look in this young man's eyes, that his eyes was just black. It looked like he was under mind control. And I'm going to even take it a step further and say that he was under mind. It didn't look like he was under mind control. He was under mind control. This man had been brainwashed. His brain was nothing but mush. How can you live a life of integrity, a life of peace, a life of purpose when you hate your own self? Now, get into this whole idea that I've heard people accusing me of, and particularly black conservatives, that when we point out the true negative concept or pathological ways of black people, that we hate our black skin. No. That's not hating your black skin, okay? That is something that is real, that needs to be pointed out. This whole idea of whiteness needs to end is stupid. There is no moral or real physical basis for that. It's made up by the Marxists. When black conservatives point out high crime rates, high abortion rates, all this type of stuff in the black community. The reason why we're doing that is for the hope of change. The black community as a whole will not prosper, will not grow, will not be what God designed them to be if they don't straighten up right now. That's not hating my own skin. That's hating what I'm seeing my people, if you want to call it that, doing. Because guess what? I'm not doing it. And I'm pretty sure anyone that's watching this video that may be black or African American or whichever one you want to call it are not involved in those kind of crimes too. If you are, and I'm not going to bother even having a discussion with you. What we going to talk about? You a criminal. I don't want to talk. But that's not hating on my black skin. That has nothing to do with it. Certain things need to be pointed out so that they can be addressed and dealt with. So that's what black conservatives are trying to say. Now, people can argue, well, you guys, you got to do this because you want to get viewership and all that. Okay, yeah, whatever. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. Yeah, we all get that. But also embedded within that entertainment tone is education and information that needs to be and needs to be addressed and dealt with. Okay, so that's whether it's on the left or the right. Okay, now back to this white person, man. How can you live with peace and integrity? How could you see this? I'm trying to say this in a way, man, that I don't want to be offending nobody, but it's like, it kills me to see white people, white liberals, hating on their race and hating on themselves like this. I could understand, and follow me here down the Yellow Brick Road. I could kind of understand why black people, black liberal Marxist college professors would say we need to get rid of white. I could understand them because they can go back to slavery like they always do and blame current problems and negative pathological ways of black people on white enslavement. They'll always do that. They have a semi-premise, if you want to call it that. But when you see white people hating on their own kind like this, that's the part kills me. I hate that even more. Because how could you love yourself? How could you love yourself? How could you prosper and be all that you can be? If you decide as a white liberal who hates themselves or says whiteness needs to end and you white, how can you better yourself? In other words, let me put it like this. Say, for instance, you have this screwed up, retarded mentality that whiteness needs to end, and you're a white person. Not putting nobody down. I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get you to see something here. But something comes to your mind and says, you begin to look around and say, man, I'm tired of being in this broke, busted, and disgusted situation. I don't have the money I want to have. I don't have this. I don't have that. And you decide to go out there and get a better education. You decide to major in a field that will make you a lot of money and all of this. Okay. Statistically, whites tend to major in these particular fields. Do they not? They still are majoring in these fields more than blacks, even though Asians are topping whites. Whites are still and have been topping blacks all for decades in those areas in terms of engineering, science, and math. Those are the areas that make you the most money. So what if this white liberal decides, hey, I'm tired of being like this. I'm tired of being broke, busted, and disgusted. And let me major in something that's going to help me later on down the line. Aren't you being racist? Aren't you being, wait a minute, you said whiteness is the end. Well, that's something that a significant number of whites still do in America. So you basically are hating on yourself in an indirect way if you decide to change the course of your life. So to sum it up, a white person that talks like that, whiteness needs to end. Okay, yeah, I'm going to assume that this person doesn't want to aspire to do anything in life, because to do so would basically make white people look good. Because remember what I said, hey, most whites tend to major in those fields, even though Asians override whites in those fields. And when I say Asians, I mean the Chinese and the Indians. They tend to be more prosperous in those fields than whites do, because whites have fallen off the grain here, okay? Whites still statistically tend to major in those money-making fields more than blacks. So if this white liberal with the green beard and all this kind of nonsense decides he wants to better his life, you basically are promoting racism, sir. You're promoting racism. Why would you just stay poor and broke, busted, and disgusted? Because you said whiteness needs to end. So in order for whiteness to end, be broke, busted, and disgusted all your life. Don't have anything. Don't try to strive for anything. Yeah, that's how you do it. Because whiteness needs to end, right? Stupid, ignorant, crazy nonsense. But what do you guys think about this crazy stuff? Do you think whiteness needs to end, or do you think this person's just another brainwashed liberal? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.